What is going on, Raiders? Soda Dragon here. Welcome and I hope you guys are doing well. So today I got a brand new slow tune for Iron Twins 15 using block damage champions. So what are you going to need for this comp? You're going to need two-turn block damage champions. So champs like Roshcard or Helicath. Now, it can be any combination of the two. So for example, if you have two Helicats, that's fine. Or two Roshcards, that's fine. Or a Roshcard and a Helicath, that's fine. But one-turn block damage champions won't work with this speed tune. So for example, Demitha or Warcaster, you won't be able to substitute them in. We need two-turn AoE block damage champions. Now guys, if you only have like one Helicath or one Roshcard and not two block damage champions, then don't worry, I have videos on slow tunes for your single block damage champion type builds. So if you only have one Helicath and no Roshcard, that's fine. Or you only have a Roshcard and no Helicath, that's fine. So I'll link to these videos in the pinned comment below. So in order to keep up that block damage with 100% uptime, we're gonna need two Pain Keepers. So this comp consists of two AoE block damage champs, and they must be two-turn block damage champs, and two Pain Keepers. If you got that, you're good to go. The DPS can be anybody. Now, of course, your fastest choice is always gonna be Geo. So if you have a Geo, even with block damage teams, he is still your fastest choice. So the reflect damage part of his passive, it doesn't reflect damage that your team is taking because your team is not taking damage, but it also can proc this War Master-like effect based on enemy max HP. So that still works even with block damage up, even though your champs are not taking any damage. So Geo is still the fastest route even with block damage teams. So coming in second are going to be enemy max HP champs like Cold Heart, Royal Guard, or Acresia. But like I said before, guys, your DPS doesn't really matter because you can't die. So whoever you use for your DPS, however long the run takes, it doesn't matter, you're gonna win. Now the crazy thing about the slow tune, guys, is how slow the Pain Keepers are. They are barely geared. I'm gonna show you their gear. It's ridiculous. You won't believe you can make a fully unkillable block damage team for the Iron Twin Stage 15 with such barely geared champs. And as I mentioned before, guys, the thing is the block damage champions are interchangeable. As long as they're either Roshcard or Helicath, you can do two Helicaths, two Roshcards, a Helicath and a Roshcard. It's all interchangeable, which is really cool. So guys, here is the speed tune, and big props to Ian Gaming for giving me an upgraded account. Now I can directly share this speed tune with you guys. So look for the link in the pinned comment below. But yes, you'll be able to access this particular speed tune and all the speeds already put in. Now, of course, your speeds are probably gonna be a little bit different, so make sure to adjust the speeds, adjust the books, adjust the gear, everything to make sure the speed tune still works. But yes, you'll be able to link to this directly below. Now guys, for sure, one Helicath and one Roshcard works. Now according to the calculator, two Helicaths or two Roshcards work as well. Now I do have two Helicaths and I do have two Roshcards, but not two of them booked out. So I have tested this particular comp right here with one Helicath and one Roshcard. So I can't say that I've tested out the others. But according to this calculator, yes, everything is interchangeable. So it should work. Once again, put in all your speeds, put in all your gear, put in all your books to make sure whatever you're using does work. So guys, as far as gear, there is no specialized gear for any of these champs. So that's why I'm not gonna really show you the gear, except the Pain Keepers, just so we can get a chuckle out of it. That's pretty much it. But there is no specialized gear on any of these champs. You don't need any toxic sets, anything. It's basically leftover gear, getting them to the right speeds. So it can be broken sets, they can be partially ungeared, maybe 1 to 2 slots ungeared if you have really strong speed substats on certain pieces of gear. That's fine. The gear is not important, it's the speeds. So use any combination of whatever leftover gear you have to get them to these speeds. So guys, as far as masteries, your DPS champs, sure, you can put masteries on them. For Geo, for example, you can go down support tree, maybe get Eagle Eye for extra accuracy if you need it, but they're not required. So for your other champs, your non-DPS champions, like your two Pain Keepers and two block damage champions, just don't put any masteries on them. So you guys might be wondering, well, what about War Master? You can put War Master if you want to, and technically it's fine, but some people say that you shouldn't use War Master with Geo. So there's kind of debate on that, whether or not you should, because it procs Retaliatory Launcher that slows down the run because Geo has to reapply his HP burn now. So whatever, you guys can research that if you want to do that. There's nothing wrong with putting War Master on your champs with Geo. Nothing wrong with that. It's just the run may be longer potentially. You guys can research that yourself, but sure, put masteries if you want to. But once again, they are entirely unnecessary. Now guys, notice here the fastest champ is Helicath, and that could be Roshcard, but the fastest champ in this particular comp is Helicath at 251. So in my opinion, for Iron Twin Stage 15, you should run one champion faster than the boss to put up that block damage before you take the first hit. I understand there are some comps out there, block damage comps, that everyone is running slower than the boss. So everyone is running under 250. Now, personally, I would not recommend that. Why? Because the boss is getting a free hit. Well, what's the big deal? Well, that means everyone has to be tanky enough to take that first hit. Okay, now what about Painkeepers? What does that mean? Well, it's very unlikely you'll be able to use a rank 3 Painkeeper, especially a level 1 Painkeeper. With my comp, you can. It doesn't matter what level they are. You can pull them fresh from shards and use them because none of them are taking any damage. But if you run your block damage team slower than 250, then you're going to have to tank that first hit. So I don't think that's the best way to go as far as gearing your champs. Because if everyone has to tank that first hit, I'm going to gear my champs completely differently than I do right now, considering no one is taking any damage. So guys, if you're using Geo, only 2 stats matter. So I don't even have to show you the gear. Only 2 stats matter. The speed, which you see right here, and the accuracy. His accuracy needs to be 550 or above for the Iron Twin Stage 15, or at least it should be. That's your goal, to try to get there. Now, this particular Geo, I do have him in Reflex, so it's a little bit hard to get right to that 550 number. I'm almost there, and it still works most of the time, but if you want the most consistent application of HP burn from Geo, then definitely you're gonna look for 550 plus accuracy, but we only need 2 stats on him. So if you want to run triple perception, whatever you need to run, it doesn't matter because all we need are 2 stats from our Geo. So guys, as far as books, forget about the DPS for now. As far as the people essential for keeping up that block damage, so your 2 block damage champions and your 2 PKs, they're going to need to have their A3s booked out. That is a requirement for this comp. So use as many books as you have to get all of their A3s booked out. Now, in addition to that, the PKs need to have their A2s booked out. So use as many books as you need to for the Painkeepers to not only book out their A3s, but to book out their A2s. Now, your DPS, it's up to you. It's up to you. Chances are, if you want to do more damage with your DPS, you need to book them out. But it's not required to stay alive. It's not required to beat this boss because this boss can't kill you, right? So however low damage you're doing, if you're comfortable with it, yeah, don't book out your DPS. Who cares? You can't die. It's fine. But if you want a faster run champ, chances are whoever you use for your DPS, you're going to need to book them out. So that's up to you. But as far as everybody else, once again, for your 2 block damage champs and your Painkeepers, everybody needs to have their A3s booked out. And in addition to that, the 2 Painkeepers need to have their A2s booked out. So guys, for a moment, let's just look at the Painkeepers' speeds. I mentioned this is a new slow tune, and just check this out. One of the Painkeepers is 143. 143 and the other one's 151. I don't think there was any comp like this with speed requirements this low. Really for the whole team, but in particular for the Painkeepers. Let me show you the gear. It's ridiculous. So one of my Painkeepers, my slower one, look at what she has. She has a speed boot. That is it. One freaking speed boot, okay? And what about the other Painkeeper? A speed boot and an unleveled piece of speed gear. That is it. That is how barely these champs are geared. Now, as far as everybody else, your 2 block damage champions, once again, I'm not going to show it to you because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Put whatever leftover gear you have on your champs to get them to those right speeds. That is it. All right, guys, on to the skill instructions. So for your faster block damage champ, you're just going to have them open up with their block damage skill. So here it's Healycath, and I put his first priority as his A3. You can do that if you want, if you don't trust the AI. But the AI normally uses Roshcard and Healycath's A3 as their first priority when they have it available. So you can leave everything default if you want. It's up to you. But the faster block damage champion just opens with their block damage ability. Now the slower block damage champion is going to delay their block damage skill for 1 turn. So here it happens to be Roshcard, open with his A1 for his first turn here to delay that A3 for a turn. Now for your faster Painkeeper, you're going to have the combat tactics as number 1 and spectacular sweep as number 2. So these priorities are going to be the same between the 2 Painkeepers. So the 1s and the 2s are going to be the same, except for this Painkeeper, there's no opener. So this Painkeeper is just going to use combat tactics as her first skill. Whereas the second slower Painkeeper is going to open with the A1. So with the slower Painkeeper, we're delaying combat tactics by 1 turn. Now for your Geo, make sure to turn off the A2 if you have that charged focus mastery, because you won't get that extra bonus sometimes from that mastery if you happen to have the A2 available and he happens to be using it. And if you're using Reflex, Refresh, something like that, sometimes that can proc on the A2 instead of the A3 where you really want it to proc. So it won't really hurt the run any if you left it on default, everything, but chances are you just want to turn off the A2 if you're using, as I mentioned, those accessories or those sets or that mastery. All right, guys, let's see this run in action. So with Geo, it takes about 3 minutes. With an enemy max HP champ like a Crazy, it took about 5 minutes. So significantly longer without a Geo. So Some people think Geo's passive doesn't work because you're not taking damage, and that's partially true. The reflected damage portion of his passive does not work because yes, you are not taking any damage, but he does have this War Master effect just built into his passive as well. So that's what's doing damage here, not the reflected damage portion because you're not taking any damage. So yes, even though we don't get that reflected damage back against the boss, it's still significantly faster with Geo than with a top tier enemy max HP champ like Acrisia that has the enemy max HP skill on all of her skills when she's fighting a boss basically. So really can't beat Geo. Now sometimes Roshkard will use his A2. I didn't turn it off, but it doesn't really do much. You can turn it off if you want, but it doesn't really matter. Yeah, like Sanction right there, that A2, it doesn't really do much. So if you want, you can turn it off. It doesn't really matter though. Yeah, so I think it's pretty cool that you can switch in any 2 block damage champions on this team as long as they're 2-turn block damage champions. So whatever you got, if you got 2 Rosh cards, you got 2 Helicasts, or 1 of each, it works. It works. And those Pain Keepers, all you need from them is to have their A3 and the A2 booked out and the right speeds. And you saw the gear. I mean, like 1 speed boot, 1 piece of gear, no masteries, ridiculous. The other champ had 2 pieces of gear, ridiculous. This is the slowest speed tune you will find for double block damage champions like this. So unfortunately, we are proccing a lot of that retaliatory launch. We are getting some cleanses, so Geo is going to have to reapply that burn. So it just means it's going to take a little bit longer. On really lucky runs, you really never see that retaliatory launch proc because if the HP is lowered with Geo's passive, it will not proc that retaliatory launch. So some runs, he'll never cleanse himself, which is the best scenario, the fastest scenario for you. But sometimes he does. Like I said, it doesn't matter because you can't die. It doesn't matter. It's all a matter of time, like how long the run takes. But as far as you completing the run and beating the boss, you will. The boss doesn't heal or anything like that. So however little damage you do, I mean, you're going to get him eventually because he can't kill you. So yes, we are seeing a few retaliatory launches right there. Those missiles, that's the retaliatory launch. That's the cleanse. So it's just slowing down the run a little bit. So unfortunately, this run is taking a little bit longer, but it's fine. It's fine. So if you're using really low DPS, and let's say the run might take like 10 minutes, I can't speak to whether or not the speed tune will stay in tune like indefinitely. So depending on what DPS you're using, or if you're using any DPS, or you just want to use like just all toxic to beat the boss down, if the run goes on really long, I can't say for sure whether or not the speed tune will stay in tune because the calculator only goes to turn 50. So but like I said, even with someone like Acrisia and a 5-minute run, it was still all good. So I think chances are the run will stay in tune depending on who you use. I mean, actually in spite of who you use, it should stay in tune. So yeah, double Rosh card would be faster. Yeah, this is a long run. This is typically like 3 minutes. So it's a really unlucky run I'm showing you guys. Unfortunately, that's the way Plarium is. They know when I'm recording and then they give me bad RNG. So this is like Acrisia type run times here. This is not typical Geo run times. Normally he's a lot faster. But like I said, we can't die. So however long it takes, we will get the rewards at the end. There you go. 4:35, about 1 minute and 30 seconds longer than it normally takes. Alright guys, it's going to be about it for this new double block damage slow speed tune. And if this video has helped you out, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. It's free to you and it ensures you don't miss out on any of my new content. So thanks for watching, stay safe guys, and I will see you in the next video.